These days, at European level, when we discuss with the European Commission and the Parliament, we talk a lot about two specific issues. The first is authors' remuneration, not only in the digital single market, but also in general. And the other one is the promotion of audiovisual works, both online and offline in traditional channels. Well, first of all, on the main area that we're investigating these days, authors' remuneration, we're very concerned that authors are properly valued in the online world, but also in their work more generally. And it's a topic that actually the Commission is willing to address to some extent. In its December communication, it mentioned authors' remuneration as one of the points that they wanted to investigate. And we're very keen on working with them on more balanced relationship for authors, so film directors, but also other categories of authors in other sectors, both in contractual relationships, but also in terms of being paid for the distribution of their works online. Well, actually, the whole discussion around the digital single market is definitely not over. Actually, we just wrapped up the first phase, or we're about to wrap it up, with the legislative proposal being on the table now since December, regulation on portability, and before summer or in September, a legislative proposal from the Commission on copyright, which will address several concerns that are very directly connected to the audiovisual sector. The geo-blocking issue is of course one of them. For us, authors' remuneration, we hope, will be on the table in proper terms, meaning that it will both address the issue of proper remuneration for authors in general, for example in contractual practices, but also their fair share of the online value of the distribution of their work, which is also a concern of ours. Another topic which is also on the table and will be addressed before summer by the Commission is the Audiovisual Media Service Directive, which is very important because it is the directive which basically sets out the lines of promotion of audiovisual works for both the broadcasters but also for the online world. Our position as FERA is that this directive should be strengthened. Its spirit should be definitely strengthened, and beyond the issue of strengthening the promotion of audiovisual work, which is of course always a concern of ours, there is the issue of targeting also through this directive online operators, operators such as operators which are based outside of the EU but target EU markets, so they're not basically submitted to the same type of constraints or obligations as broadcasters are, for example. And that is a real problem, because if we don't have proper promotion of audiovisual works from Europe in all types of broadcasting or distribution channels, then we will face the same problem we had in the past of how do we fight on this very competitive market with works that are so specific and so European and so important culturally. Actually, the problem is that if you were to ask the same question tomorrow, I would have a better answer for you, because we're actually meeting with our Bulgarian members here in Sofia. That's one of the things that we want to do during the festival, not only have our internal board meeting, not only co-organizing a Directors in Dialogue event with the festival, with permanent guest Michael Roskam and Pavel, the Bulgarian director, but also engage more in details with our local members, and in particular for the eastern countries where we know that some specific issues are developing, but really I wouldn't know any details for now, I'm sorry. we do have informal discussions during festivals, and those informal discussions actually led to a more formal dialogue with the media program itself in the European Film Forum, let's say, events. The European Film Forum these days are taking also not only the form of conferences in prominent festivals, but also meetings with the media unit to discuss non-legislative proposals that fit maybe a little bit better for the independent sector in Europe. So that's one of the interesting outcomes of our informal discussions. We have several levels of communications. Of course, in Brussels, all of our types of stakeholders in the audiovisual sector have representatives, and we do meet both informally and formally to discuss among ourselves what is best for the sector, and when we discuss with the institutions. But we rely a lot on our local members in explaining to us what their situation is with regards to the discussions they might have with those national other stakeholders. And we do organize a few times a year events in which we have direct contact with film commissions or national film agencies if they support us. For example, in co-organizing an event, we usually have a conference where they explain to us what they do and what their main issues are, which feeds in our reflection, of course. We've been very welcome here in Bulgaria, both by our member and by the festival, who not only is a very good partner in terms of organizing our meetings once a year, but also co-organizing, as I said, the Directors in Dialogue event that we have this year on Sunday. So we're very, very happy with the way the hospitality has been handled by the festival. Yeah.